Good afternoon. Welcome to another edition of the 411 Talk Zone radio show, Red Pill Edition. My name is Leon Jones. And in this segment, I want to talk about the elimination of patriarchy. So, the title of this afternoon's video is When You Eliminate the Patriarchy, You Create Deviant Behavior. When you eliminate the patriarchy, you create deviant behavior. Now, why am I saying all this? Well, if you look at societies that have patriarchies, they're more stable. But now you turn around and you look at the African American community, it's more instability. In fact, a number of the women would rather have careers, education, and be baby mothers rather than have husbands. This is why 1 out of 4 African American women get married. And a number of African American women, they're also married to the institutions. Now, when I talk about the institutions, I mean education, religion, media, corporations, and government. This is why they come up with that concept of, I don't need a man. And when it comes to the patriarchy, it's not just in the African American community. It's actually all over. And with the activists trying to eliminate the patriarchy, you end up with the cancel culture. You end up with weak men. And something else you end up with. You end up with individuals who are demonic. Now, there are a number of individuals who have already put videos out about the rapper Lil Nas. And then that video, because I saw the video, it looked like he was getting humped by the devil. And with those shoes, I believe Nike has put those shoes out, and there's a drop of human blood in those shoes. The name of those shoes are called Satan shoes. Now, if you all don't know this, I'm going to give you the information right now. Only 666 pairs of those shoes are going to be sold, and the price is $1,000. Now, when you talk about the deviant behavior, you talk about the incubus, if you were a man, and you talk about the succubus, if you're a woman. Because the incubus and the succubus, they gain power by utilizing sex as a weapon. So the more sex they have, the more powerful they get. But it's not only in the sex game. You have to look at two groups of people who are on the left, the feminists and the LGBTQ community. Now, the reason why they back each other is because both of those entities, they want to eliminate the patriarchy. And you see what happens when you eliminate the patriarchy. You see the dysfunction. You see the lack of family structure. You see the more dependence on government. Now, before I go on, if you're looking for some good game right here on YouTube, check out Brother Red Supreme. Kevin Samuels delivers good content. Minister Jap, he delivers good content. And I mention those brothers because those brothers have a patriarchal mindset. those brothers, you have Kevin, who went to college, majored in engineering. You had Red Supreme, and also Hardcore Tito. Hardcore Tito went to college. David Carroll went to college. Now, these are African American men who believe in the patriarchy. These are African American men who are very strong. And one thing I can tell you about deviant behavior, look at Black YouTube. There's a lot of deviant behavior going on here on Black YouTube. In fact, something Brother Red Supreme said I've always agreed with. If you believe in what you're saying, then you should put your face on camera. I put my face on camera every time I do videos because I want individuals to know who I am and what I look like. Yes, I stand 5 feet 8 inches. I'm not 6 feet tall. About 225 pounds. But what I bring you is information from a political aspect. I don't bring the game. You have guys out there that bring the game. And also, I'm not going to talk about Derrick Jackson. So many videos out there on Derrick Jackson. Enough is enough. But let me get back on topic here with this deviant behavior. See, the deviant behavior is an upside down behavior. And where we've gone to with this culture is we now believe that dysfunction and deviant behavior is the norm. You see it with our politicians. And something else that came to light, I saw it on television just a few minutes ago on Newsmax, where you had an Uber driver or a diner dash or whatever you call it, they deliver food. He was carjacked and killed by 2 teenage women in Washington, D.C. That's deviant behavior. You have and they were African American women. And the funny thing about that is, you didn't hear it in the news. But who's running Washington, D.C.? An African American woman. You see, when you put certain people in positions of power, their cities go down the drain. You look at Chicago, run by Beetlejuice, Lori Lightfoot. You look at San Francisco. You look at Baltimore. It's where I'm from originally. That was run by an African American woman. You look at Atlanta. You look at New Orleans. You see all these cities have high crime, high violence, and the biggest thing that you see is black on black crime. But within that black on black crime are areas we call the hoods. And in the hoods, guess what you find? Deviant behavior. No marriages, no families. You have individuals who believe in a welfare system. There's no businesses. There are a lot of churches and a lot of liquor stores. Go figure that out. You go to church on a Sunday morning, and then you go to the liquor store, and you get you a fifth of cheap liquor. Mad Dog, Manischewitz, Wild Irish Rose. This is what goes on in those hoods. Now, I'm not saying everybody in the hood is bad. But in the hood, you have a lot of deviant behavior. But you also have a lot of deviant behavior with the education system. And a number of women are causing this deviant behavior as well. Because it's funny. When it comes to the education system, how many times have you ever heard a teacher committing statutory rape against a student and nothing happens? You see, if it's a man committing statutory rape, he gets 25 years. And see, in this deviant culture, because there's no patriarchy, it allows for certain groups to do whatever they want to do, while another group of people is clamped down. They got their hands tied behind their back. And this deviant behavior calls for normalizing homosexuality. Pedophilia is next. You have marriage by same sex. Now, we've always had abortion. Abortion is not going anywhere. But we basically, with the lack of patriarchy, turn the tides on what we call a disorderly society. Laws are put into place for order. Now, are all laws good laws? No. For instance, we've, in the last 22 years, have had a number of school shootings. But if you look at the last two shootings that occurred in Boulder, Colorado, and Atlanta, Georgia, one was done by a white person, and the other one was done by somebody from Syria. You didn't hear that Syrian mentioned. Why? Because part of the deviant behavior is we believe from the media, from the education system, that it's white people's fault. Now, I'm not saying white people haven't conquered land. White people have conquered land. White people have killed a lot of people through wars. That's true. However, when you have black on black crime, you don't hear too much about it. And in the African American community, there is a lot of deviant behavior that takes place. In fact, incest is running rampant in the African American community. AIDS is running rampant in the African American community. You have people to whom you think are good individuals causing pedophilia on children. You have mothers, they have sons, and these sons are like the husbands to the mothers because the mothers can't find a man. You have a lot of delusion going on in all communities, whether they're black, white, Latino, because here in a deviant society, because there's no patriarchy, individuals are allowed, if you are part of the deviant crowd, you're allowed to say and do whatever you want to do. Because in your mind, if it's not your way, it's the highway. And I'm talking about when we are pushing policies for deviant behavior, but we are basically throwing out policies that are for stability, having families, marriage. And within marriage today, most of it is state-sponsored marriage. And I don't advocate anybody to go get a state-sponsored marriage because it basically helps the woman out. She can basically utilize sex as a weapon. And see, that's another thing that's part of the deviant community. The alleged allegations of sexual assault against some men. Deshaun Watson, who is the quarterback of the Houston Texans, has been accused by some women when it comes to sexual allegations. This is why I tell you brothers out here, you got to be careful of some of these women. You got to be careful of being around them if they have children, because if You are with a woman in some states and she's pregnant and you know that child isn't yours, but when she has that child, here's what can happen to you. You can pay child support for someone else's child because that child is going to recognize you, and the court is also going to recognize you as the only father that the child has known. And you have a number of women out here who are just putting themselves out there. They're monkey branching. A lot of them wear all these tattoos, funny colored hair. A number of them look like men, especially in the African American community. In fact, in the African American community, what you get from a number of African American women is what we call masculine energy. And then there was a soccer player out there, Megan somebody, who had different color hair. She's upset that the women's soccer doesn't get paid as much as the men's soccer. And see, part of the deviant behavior is also fighting for this, not equality, equity, and being the supreme gender. Because from a commercial I saw, I can do anything you can do, but better. First of all, you can't tell me you can do anything I can do if you haven't done it. But we are allowing this to take place as men because men are afraid that if they say anything to a woman, they're not going to get any sex. Men, you got to start speaking up as well if you feel your rights are being infringed on. Women always speak up. Now, moving over to the left, it's funny. You have Andrew Cuomo. You had Jeffrey Epstein. And you have other men like Bill Clinton who have had sex or sexual relations with a number of women. Now, Cuomo is being alleged by women of some sexual allegations because another woman has come out. Spritzer, who was the governor of New York, also had a prostitution ring. Now, these are leaders in government committing this deviant behavior. And for all of you all who don't like the patriarchy, I'm giving you examples of what the patriarchy does. The patriarchy sets standards. And what you have right now, you have a lot of loose lips sinking ships. You have individuals who are doing whatever they want to do, regardless of the consequences. And the media is also part of it. The media, particularly left-wing media, is letting a lot of it go because they agree with it. The cancel culture. You have individuals like Will Johnson. I listen to him regularly. Well, he doesn't have any videos on his channel because he's afraid his channel was going to be flagged. You have a number of individuals who have a conservative point of view and they've been in Facebook jail. This is why I don't post videos on Facebook. But when you look at the deviant behavior, you got to look at some of these rappers out here. Hip-hop today is dead, but you got a number of people who still buy hip-hop. In other words, when you put everything together, the patriarchy is second under God. But when you have no patriarchy, you create two animals, the incubus and the succubus. And I talked about the incubus and succubus back in 2017 and 2018. And what I'm going to tell you all on the traditional side of things, if you believe in the patriarchy, you got to stand for something. You can't allow the left to continue to force this deviant behavior on the rest of us. You look at what's going on down at the border. Individuals are coming in. In fact, they want to put some of these individuals in hotels. They're coming in our country because Joe Biden wants them to come into our country, not to be Americans, but to get votes for the Democratic Party. In other words, what he's going to do through his policies, he's going to offer them free welfare. Some of them may have gotten stimulus checks already, and they don't even live in this country. And when you allow the illegals to come in this country, what else is going to follow that? The criminals of the illegals are going to follow into this country, and they're going to commit a crime. And see, part of the deviant behavior is we're not even allowed, if you're on the opposite side of deviance, to basically criticize deviant behavior. Because then, in the deviant side, we're going to be deviant. And see, the thing about a person who's on the side of the deviants, they're cowards. Because when you call them out, what they want to do, instead of challenging your argument, they want to shut your channel down. And they do that because they can't combat what you're saying. And this deviant behavior is in Hollywood. And if you look at everything, like The Equalizer. Equalizer, again, started out with a man, and Denzel Washington played it. Now you look at Queen Latifah. And going back to women. You have some of these women out here, basically, instead of creating their own product, they want to infiltrate products already created by men to show men that we can do the same thing you can do. Well, you really can't unless you create your own. And when you have a product, you have to sell the product. Well, see, a number of women don't want to create a product because it takes work to sell that product. Look at NCAA basketball. I've watched the women's tournament and the men's tournament. Yeah, there's some good women's teams out there like Stanford, Maryland, UConn, Baylor. But their style of basketball doesn't compare to the men's style of basketball. The men play faster. They dunk. They do better backdoor cuts. They just have a better product. But what we've instilled in this country is that everything is equal. Equality doesn't exist. Life isn't fair. And living in this deviant society, the deviants want us to accept everything. And see, under the patriarchy, you have more stability. And in the long run, with the patriarchy, you have a better society. Now, I'm not saying all men are great, because you have men who don't believe in the patriarchy as well. And a lot of these men are soft men. These men are basically blue pill men. Because when we talk about the pills, particularly in the red pill and MGTOW sector, there are only two pills. Red pill and blue pill. If you're a blue pill, you believe in all the deviance and the delusion that's taken place. Now, if you're a red pill, you basically believe in the truth. And it's not just about females, it's about the government. Because the government has a lot of deviant behavior in here. Well, in its organization too. You can't trust politicians. The government wants to take away rights from certain people because of these shootings. I'm talking about the Second Amendment rights. They believe that it's the assault rifle's fault in these shootings. But what the government doesn't tell you is, it's not the gun that kills people. People kill people. My fist can be a weapon to kill somebody. This pen can be a weapon to kill somebody. My microphone could be a weapon to kill somebody. But we basically, in this country, want to get rid of guns. And to me, that's pretty deviant, because the Second Amendment is supposed to protect you in any case there's no police around. It's also supposed to protect you against your own government. Government is not supposed to be that powerful. But in the long run, we are letting a lot of things go. Look at Joe Biden. Tara Reid came out and said Joe Biden sexually assaulted her. The question is, if you feminists believe in women's rights, where are you? What happens if an LGBTQ community person commits a crime against somebody who is not LGBTQ? What happens to them? Basically, it's hush hush. Because where I'm going with this, if you're a white man, a white heterosexual man, and if you're a black heterosexual man, for the most part, you believe in a patriarchy. You believe in masculinity. You believe in order. You believe in families. And the reason why everybody is against the heterosexual man is because the heterosexual man is a threat to the deviant behavior. The heterosexual man is one that could correct the deviant behavior. And the people who are on the side of deviance are very delusional people as well. They're delusional because they believe in the television, they believe in the media, and also they're easily influenced. Case in point, African American women. African American women are some of the most easy influenced women because they don't believe in the patriarchy. They believe in feminism. They believe in education, and education is purely indoctrination. They believe in the media. They believe in each other. They will take up for each other even if they're wrong, especially if there's a man involved. And then you have your pro-blacks out there. Your pro-blacks, they talk about African American women, but people like Van Jones and Louis Farrakhan's son are married to white women. So these individuals are hypocrites. And basically, when you have the individuals who are deviant, they're hypocrites. Because they want to persecute you, but when they do something, it's hush hush. And when it comes to Western society, the deviant behavior is basically going to cause this country to be another Rome. You have to have boundaries. You have to have standards. Because if you don't have standards, you're going to have people running wild, dysfunctional. And the thing about the deviant behavior, will get canceled if we shame it. Used to be in the past, we shamed having babies out of wedlock. We shamed divorce. Today, we don't shame it. In fact, individuals who are married, it's more about getting that piece of paper. It's more about the wedding than the marriage. It's more about the ring. And in this day and age, a number of individuals are delusional. They don't want to deal with the truth because the truth is a threat to the deviant behavior. The truth is a threat to the succubus and incubus. The music, what you see on TV, even the commercials are promoting interracial marriages between, or interracial couples between black woman, white man. And a white man is goofy. Look at some of these car commercials. And see, the deviant behavior is out of line because, for the most part, people who live in deviance do not live in the real world. And again, the masculine men believe in the patriarchy. And the reason why the masculine men are under assault in this country, because masculinity is a threat to the deviant behavior, and you all know it. And that's my commentary for this edition of the 411 Talk Zone Radio Show right here on YouTube. If you like what I just presented, please comment, share, and subscribe. If you want to check out some educational material, check out the Mind of STEM channel. On that channel, I give you a daily dose of science, technology, engineering, and math. And if you want to go more in depth in the topics that include STEM, check out the 411 Talk Zone Radio Show on Blog Talk Radio. 215-383-5785 is the number. Now, if you can't find me on Blog Talk Radio YouTube, simply check me out on MeWe and Twitter. Because at the end of the day, I'm going to leave you with this. Be blessed for what you have. Don't worry about what you don't have. Always know that the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. Thank you for listening to this edition of the 401 Talk Zone Radio Show. Now, before I go, I just want you to know this. If you're going to make content and you believe in what you're saying, put your face out there. And that's all I have to say about that. Again, thank you for listening to this edition of the 401 Talk Zone Radio Show right here on YouTube. Till next time, my name is Leon Jones. I want you all to have a wonderful and gracious day. God bless you. I'm out.